In a bustling town on the edge of Nairobi, Lucy grew up in a home where faith was the foundation of everything. Her parents, staunch Christians, instilled in her values of honesty, purity, and unwavering devotion to God. Every Sunday, the family filled an entire pew at church, their voices rising in perfect harmony during hymns. Lucy was the embodiment of her upbringing, vibrant, kind, and full of hope. Kevin too came from a similar background. His parents were well known in the church, his father an elder, and his mother a choir leader. Theirs was a home of discipline and scripture, with morning prayers and evening Bible studies. Kevin was charming and deeply religious, which made him the perfect match in the eyes of Lucy's parents when they began courting. The two met at a church youth event, one of those lively Saturday gatherings full of spirited singing, awkward icebreakers, and generous servings of tea and mandazi. Lucy was helping set up chairs when Kevin strolled in. Late, but completely unbothered, with his guitar slung casually over his shoulder. He flashed a boyish smile at the crowd and headed straight to the makeshift stage. "Sorry, folks," he said, his voice carrying an easy charm. "The spirit moved me to stop for some samosas on the way. Anyone hungry?" The room erupted in laughter, and Lucy couldn't help but chuckle. Later that afternoon, during a group activity about building faith, Kevin's group acted out a skit. Kevin played the role of a confused sheep who kept wandering off while the shepherd desperately tried to keep him in line. His exaggerated bleats and dramatic falls had everyone in stitches. But it was the moment he broke character to belt out a hymn, completely off key, but with such conviction, that made Lucy laugh so hard her sides ached. By the end of the day, Kevin had somehow ended up next to Lucy during the closing prayer. When he whispered, "Do you think God has a favorite hymn? I'm hoping it's not the one I just butchered." Lucy burst into laughter again, earning a few disapproving glances, but also a shared smile that lingered far longer than it should have. Kevin wasted no time after that. He found her after the event, guitar still slung over his shoulder, and said, "So, do you come to these things often, or are you just here to steal hearts?" Lucy rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. He introduced himself, and they talked well into the evening about everything from their favorite Bible verses to their dreams of starting families. By the time they parted ways, Lucy's cheeks hurt from smiling. Over the next few weeks, Kevin made his presence known. He would show up at Lucy's home with thoughtful gifts, a handmade wooden cross one day, a journal with her favorite scripture engraved on the cover the next. "Just something to brighten your day," he'd say with a grin. Lucy's parents adored him instantly. Her father often remarked, "This one's got his head on straight. A God-fearing man, just what you need, Lucy." Her mother nodded approvingly, adding, "And such manners. He even says, 'Thank you' for a cup of tea." Kevin didn't just charm Lucy's parents, he won over the entire neighborhood. The children loved him for his silly stories and guitar playing. The elders praised his humility and ability to recite entire psalms from memory. Even the family cat, notorious for scratching visitors, seemed to tolerate him. "See," Kevin joked one evening, "even Simba the cat knows I'm the right man for you." Underneath the surface, their love blossomed. They spent countless afternoons together talking about their shared dreams of building a home filled with faith and laughter. Kevin would often say, "With God at the center, nothing can shake us." Lucy believed him. She believed she had found a man who would lead her closer to God, the one she would spend the rest of her life with. Their relationship seemed flawless, like a match made in heaven. But appearances can be deceiving. Thanks for following the story up to this point. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. The wedding day dawned bright and full of promise. The church was packed with family, friends, and members of the congregation. Lucy sat in her bridal gown, radiant but nervous. Hours passed and Kevin was nowhere to be seen. Whispers spread among the guests. Her father paced, her mother wrung her hands, and Lucy's heart sank as each passing minute turned hope into dread. Kevin never arrived. Instead, Wanjiku burst into the bridal room, her face pale. "Lucy, I've just heard Kevin was seen at a bar last night, drunk, with another woman." Lucy's heart shattered. "Are you sure?" she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It's true," Wanjiku confirmed, showing Lucy a photo someone had sent her. There he was, disheveled and oblivious, holding another woman as if he hadn't a care in the world. The wedding was called off. Guests trickled out, murmuring their sympathy or judgment. By the time Kevin stumbled into the church hours later, the decorations were being taken down, and Lucy was gone. Kevin spent days begging for Lucy's forgiveness. He showed up at her doorstep with flowers, wrote her letters, and even enlisted the pastor to mediate. Against Wanjiku's advice, Lucy eventually agreed to give him another chance. "People make mistakes," she told herself. "Maybe this is God's way of teaching me forgiveness." They set a new wedding date 6 months later. Kevin seemed to have changed. He attended counseling, apologized to Lucy's family, and went above and beyond to prove his commitment. Lucy's parents were hesitant but hopeful, and Lucy allowed herself to dream again. The second wedding day arrived, grander than the first. The church was adorned with fresh flowers, and the choir rehearsed joyfully. Lucy stood in her gown, a mix of nerves and cautious optimism. But as the clock struck noon, Kevin was missing. Again. This time, there were no whispers, only silence and heartbreak. Hours later, Wanjiku's phone buzzed. She read the message, her face darkening. "Lucy," she said, her voice trembling. "Kevin, he's in Mombasa. He's eloped with another woman." Lucy felt the ground beneath her give way. "I was a fool to believe him," she said, her voice cracking. Tears blurred her vision as she realized she had been betrayed again, this time with no doubt of his true character. In the weeks that followed, more truths about Kevin emerged. He had children with 2 other women, relationships he had hidden behind a mask of piety and charm. Lucy's parents were devastated, blaming themselves for encouraging the relationship. Gossip spread like wildfire, and Lucy felt the weight of judgment and pity wherever she went. But Lucy refused to crumble. With Wanjiku's unwavering support, she threw herself into her dressmaking business. She designed stunning wedding gowns for other brides, pouring her pain into her craft. Her work gained recognition, and she began receiving orders from across the country. One day, while delivering a gown to a client, Lucy met David. He was a quiet, thoughtful man who worked as a social worker. Unlike Kevin, David didn't sweep her off her feet with grand gestures. Instead, He showed kindness in the small things, carrying groceries for an elderly neighbor, volunteering at the local children's home, and encouraging Lucy's dreams without overshadowing them. David and Lucy's relationship grew slowly, built on trust and transparency. When she told him about her past with Kevin, he listened without judgment. "You've been through so much," he said, "but you're stronger because of it." Lucy's parents were cautious when she introduced David, but over time they saw his genuine character. Her mother, who had once urged her to forgive Kevin, took Lucy aside one day. "This time, I think you found the right one," she said, smiling. On a quiet afternoon, under the shade of a tamarind tree, David knelt before Lucy. "I don't have a perfect past," he said, holding out a simple ring, "but I promise you an honest future." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, they were tears of joy. "Yes," she said, her voice steady, "that's all I've ever wanted." Months later, Lucy walked down the aisle, this time with peace in her heart. The journey had been painful, filled with betrayal and heartbreak, but it had led her to a love that was real. As she and David exchanged vows, Lucy knew she had finally found her happy ending. And as the tamarind tree stood tall, so did her hope, unshaken and deeply rooted in her resilience. If you enjoyed this story and would like more of such life stories, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment.